My name is Andrea and I love reading books, obviously. And within this video, I'm gonna do a bunch of little bookish things. I'm not really going to be buying any books, so if that's what you're here for, sorry, I'm not going to be purchasing any because I already have a couple books that I need to read. I want to focus on finishing my physical TBR. This was the last one. So before we get into how many books I have and how many books I've read within the books that I own, I want to get into some of the analytics from my reading that I get off of Fable, just so you're aware of my reading habits or just my background on reading, right? So I've read 20 books this year and my goal is to read 50 books. I'm a little behind. I should be at like 25 books or more if I do want to complete that goal, which I'm a little nervous about, but it's fine. I think I'll be able to complete it. My best streak, as in like reading every single day, was 77 days. That was tracked on Fable. I don't know how I did it. I wanted to get to 100 days, obviously, but I couldn't do it. I think it got to a point where early on, I'm always listening to an audiobook, so then I had just played it for like a whole percentage and then I just updated it. It does count because I did spend some time listening to that book and I did get 1% further. But at some point, I think towards the end of those 77 days, I would read one page and then I'd stop and then I'd upload it to Fable, which obviously, like, that still counts. But I didn't feel satisfied with that. I felt like that was a very faulty streak on my end. This is where it gets fun and a bit interesting. So I'm looking at my phone because I have my notes there, and my most read genres were thrillers. That was my number one most read genre. Then fantasy, which was crazy because I don't typically read a lot of fantasy, but this year I have. Biographies, which is not that surprising because when I tend to listen to audiobooks, I like to listen to biographies. Literary fiction, I thought that one was going to be my first genre, or like my most read genre, to be quite honest. And then I have romance. I do dabble in romance books, but I don't really read them consistently. Honestly, I haven't read a romance book in quite some time and I'm itching for one. I've only had 2 5-star books this year, and it was The Poet X and Sunrise on the Reaping. I love my Hunger Games books. That's literally the only Hunger Games book I've read. But I love the movies. I love the world. Now let's get into my physical TBR. How many books do I own? I don't own like a bunch of books, but it's a hefty amount, okay? I have 60 physical books with me, and most of these, to be honest, were found at free little libraries or I thrifted them. There's been a couple that I've purchased from Barnes & Noble, but typically they're thrifted or I get them from free little libraries. Out of those 60 books that I own, I've read 25 of them. Honestly, not that bad, almost half of them. And I do want to focus on reading the books that I own because I don't want to keep books that I don't really want to have. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna look through all of my books and see the ones that I have from those 25 that I've read. Am I gonna keep any of them or am I gonna give them away? And then I have more room for more books and more opportunities for 5-star reads. This is my most recent purchased book and I'm so excited for it. It's my current read. So I'm reading Voice of the Ocean by Kelsey and Pichiche. It's so beautiful. I think this is one of the most beautiful covers I have ever seen. I love the ocean. I love mermaids. I love this blue. I love this siren. The eyes, there's some sort of sparkle to them. It's so beautiful. And when I think about this book, I just think about summer. So I started reading it. I'm currently on page 73. And honestly, the first chapter, I was a little confused because it just felt like a retelling of The Little Mermaid. And don't get me wrong, I love The Little Mermaid, but I was like, why is this exactly the same? But then after chapter 2, it started to change a bit. And I was like, oh, okay, I forgive you. I forgive you for that. But I was completely unaware. And I actually read the synopsis of this one. And I was like, in no way, shape, or form was it talking about a retelling of The Little Mermaid. And then I also watched Kelsey and Pichiche's YouTube video talking about releasing a book and writing it, and I don't think she ever mentioned that. So I was caught off guard. But lucky for her, I do like The Little Mermaid. But again, chapters 2 to the future, I don't know, I haven't finished this book, it's a bit different. There's a different storyline to it. So if you end up picking up this book and you read the first chapter and you're like, why is this so familiar? Maybe that's why. But give it a chance, I think. It's really fun so far, very whimsical. I don't know, I don't read a lot about sirens or mermaids, and I wish I did because I love those mythical creatures so much. So one of the things that I want to do within this video is have Lilo right here pick how much pages I'm going to read in a day. It's not going to be like a weekly or a week reading vlog. It'll just be probably for today and tomorrow. But I think it's still fun to get me reading. So I'm going to cut out some papers and I'm going to write some pages there that are realistic for me. I'm not going to put 200 pages in there, even though I do would want to read 200 pages and finish a book really, really fast because I should be more ahead on my reading. But realistically, I don't think I'd get that done. So we're gonna put some realistic numbers down and she's gonna choose how much I read for today. So I actually did a couple different things. So I wrote 20 pages, 30 pages, 15 pages, 35 pages, and then I wrote 2 chapters, 3 chapters, or 30 minutes. So I don't know how many pages are within a chapter, but I thought that'd be fun to maybe put a couple chapters in there, or maybe like a time limit, so it could be a little bit different. Okay, so I'm gonna cut them up and then put some treats on them so she can choose them and you can see that. But my other current read so far is The Invisible Life by Addie LaRue. I've talked about it in my other book video, and it's my book club book with one other person. It's not a big book club or anything, but that was my choice of book for us to read, and I'm regretting it a little bit. I don't know if it's just like I'm not in the right mindset for it, or maybe the book isn't for me, but I'm a bit lost and uninterested. I mean, I'm 27% in right now, and at first I started reading it on my Kindle, and then I started listening to it on audio, and I prefer the audiobook. So I'm gonna continue to listen to that until that audiobook expires, and then I'll read it on my Kindle. But I've heard so many good reviews on this book, and because I'm reading it with someone else, I'm not gonna DNF it. I'm gonna continue to read it. But if it was up to me, I would DNF this book, to be quite honest. But hopefully, since I'm giving it a chance, or I'm continuing to read it, towards the end I'm like, I'm so happy I didn't DNF it. So she loves these bison and apple jerky chips right here. She loves them. I'm gonna cut it. Should it be the first one she chooses or the last one? Well, she's going for the pen. That's the first one. Let's go for the last one. This was the last one. Oh my god. 35 pages. You really want me to read? You really want me to read? Okay, so we're gonna be reading 35 pages today. I'll show you a little bit of that, give you a little bit of an update, and then tomorrow we're gonna be rehoming these bad boys right here, and we're gonna have Lilo choose how much I read again. So I read 35 pages of Voice of the Ocean by Kelsey and Pechiche, and it's good so far. I mean, I ended off on page 107, I believe, and it's still the retelling of The Little Mermaid. Sadly. I don't know, I wasn't aware of that, and I've never read a book that retells a different fairy tale or a different story, and I was open to it. Like, there's this Peter Pan book, Hooked, I believe it's called, that I would want to read, but maybe retelling of books isn't really my thing. A surprise though that had happened yesterday is I started a new book. I started The Summer of Broken Rules, right here, by K.L. Walther, and honestly, I'm really loving it. I'm really, really happy about it. I don't even know what percentage I left off because I started reading it in the night. I'm on page 24, so 8% in, and it's been pretty good so far. So I'm actually going to go find little free libraries now. I'm gonna take my girl Lila over here, and we're gonna go place those books that I had shown you yesterday, and hopefully find new books. We'll see how it goes. Yesterday, I had Lilo pick how many chapters, pages, minutes I read for, and we're gonna do the same thing for today. Okay, so I have my pieces of paper. Sorry for like this little lighting situation. I have some papers here. I'm gonna throw them, and she's gonna decide which one. So the first one this one. Ready? Lila. Oh my god. I saw her nudge this one. To be honest, I didn't really see the other ones. So, actually, yeah. Oh my god. 2 chapters, not bad. We're gonna be reading 2 chapters today.